working here? We want to talk about a familiar passage to all of us, I think. Been heard it many times, 1 Corinthians, the 11th chapter. The Apostle Paul there talks about a number of things, but he says that in the things that he's going to talk about concerning the Lord's Supper, that first of all, that he received these things from the Lord. Verse 23, for I received from the Lord that which I also delivered to you, that the Lord Jesus on the same night in which he was betrayed took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you, do this in remembrance of me. In the same manner he also took the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the new covenant in my blood. This do as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. Now, two things that we learn in regard to this. First of all, the instruction that he gives the church here, that he received that directly from the Lord. He didn't receive it from man. One of the other apostles did not tell him about it, although they may have done that. But the fact is, he said, I received this from the Lord. And so this is important teaching that he gives in regard to the Lord's Supper. But also he tells us that it is a memorial. He said, take, eat, this is my body. These are the words of Jesus that he quotes, which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me. And he also says, this cup is the new covenant in my blood. This do as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. So it's a memorial to the death of Christ. And we find that in verse 26 he says, but for as often as you eat this bread and you drink this cup, you proclaim of the Lord's death till he comes. So whenever we partake of these elements, very simple, very plain elements that can be found just about anywhere, we are to remember the Lord's death until he comes. Also, I think that that's an important thing for us to also consider. He says when we partake of the Lord's Supper, we proclaim the Lord's death. We're preaching a sermon. We are teaching a lesson. Those of us that are Christians, we understand that. Those that are non-Christians, if they're in the assembly, it may be something that they have never thought about before. So we are proclaiming the Lord's death until he comes. Then finally, he talks about in the remainder of this chapter, or in regard to the Lord's Supper, he says that whosoever eats this bread or drinks this cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner will be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup. For he who eats and drinks in an unworthy manner eats and drinks judgment to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. So we are to examine ourselves to determine whether or not we're partaking in a proper manner, whether we're thinking about those things that we're doing at that particular time. Sometimes we think about and we hear people say that, well, I'm not worthy to partake of the Lord's Supper. The fact is, that's not what he's talking about here. I suspect that none of us are really worthy to partake of it any time. But he's talking here about partaking in an unworthy manner, in a manner that we're not properly thinking about or discerning the Lord's body. So let's think about this, a very important memorial that we are engaging in, and as we do so every first day of the week.